All right, it's 6:30. We'll call the meeting of the Lin-Wood Cooperative School Board to order. First order of business this evening is the approval of the minutes of the April 21st, 2021 meeting. They're in the packet. Is there any modifications or adjustments?
She's not on. Tammy's muted.
Tammy, can we hear you? Can you say something so we can see if we can hear you?
I said I had no corrections at all. Good job, Sharon.
Oh. Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes of April.
Okay, thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Joe. Motion by Tammy, second by Joe. All those, any further discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And I'll abstain, because I was not here for that.
That's a quorum.
Oh, it's a quorum. Okay, so that motion carries. Next up on the agenda is the educational focus, and I think we're going to hear from Principal Cribba now about the new middle school math program.
Yeah, thanks. So it's not only a middle school math program, but it's also a math program that's going to carry on into the high school. So when we looked at that, we thought about finding a piece that's going to kind of match what our elementary school has, and then kind of make a flow. It's not the same company. Right now, the company that we use in the elementary school is the Engage New York stuff that they have. So we've talked about that a little bit earlier. But this one is called Envisions, and the program is going to be 6th grade through 12th grade. One of the things that we need to know about that is that it's important for our teachers to get proper training. And so this summer they are having like a 3-day institute where all 6th grade through middle high school teachers are going to get together. They're going to work PD with the company and amongst themselves to understand better how to implement and use the resources that we have. And those resources have come in. We do have them. We got them a little late in the year, but they are available. Some of the teachers are starting to dabble in them, some of them not quite. The Envisions program is, like I said, it covers 6th grade through 12th grade, and we'll look at it as the middle school itself. It has an approach where it talks about the STEM. And if you're not familiar with that, that's your science, technology, engineering, mathematics. So every unit starts off with like a hands-on or virtual unit where it would be a hands-on opportunity to look at a STEM activity. And from there, they do a review process. What did we know? What have we known in the past? And what are we going to use in that unit to carry us forward? After that, there's activities that involve literacy. So not only are they looking at the program in terms of conceptual and then moving on to the abstract, but they're looking at that, how does that reflect to our literacy? Whether you're talking story problems, whether you're talking articles to read, things like that, but really analyzing in depthly the idea of a problem. What is that problem? How do we break that problem apart in math and then use the concepts to help solve those problems? Obviously, there's a lot of review. There's your day-to-day typical lessons. There's checkpoints along the way, not only per unit at the end of unit, but mid-level unit. They want to make sure that we're able to check these kids for understanding. And then one of the kind of cool things that I like is an opportunity for fluency practice. Now, you may seem like that seems kind of silly for math class, but you know, you're still working with kids who, as we look at the Common Core, they're talking about like, it's not your traditional math facts. And sometimes we always say, what's our traditional math facts? And, you know, you're more or less looking at like, if I have, you know, 27 and I'm multiplying that by 18, you want to see different ways that we break it down using different properties like distributed properties and so forth. So there's a fluency piece that is, you know, kind of really needed within our community right now. So there's a good mixture, like I said, of conceptual and application for these math concepts that are framed by asking questions like, and if you're in the teaching field, you know, what are the essential questions based on those concepts and standards. So everything always goes back to what are the essential concepts, essential questions, sorry. The other piece about that is there's a paralleling digital platform as well. And that digital platform allows us to do interactive activities, video lessons, tutorials, other STEM activities that might not be a hands-on piece, but maybe it's more of a conducting an exercise or an experiment. And I know this sounds a lot like science, but that's what the STEM portion is, right? So conducts activities virtually and be able to get multiple opportunities to test theories and so forth. And then of course, there's lots of games, and then there's online assessments to go along with that. So we can keep focus on our in-house assessments and see how kids are doing in-house versus like that national norm piece. So our teachers are really excited about it. We think it flows really well with the Great Minds Eureka piece that we talked about earlier. And I think having those resources available and new resources available, especially in the middle school, you know, when we look at how to implement it, once we get the training, teachers continue to have their weekly math level meetings that they do. I think we're gonna find that our math department is gonna have an opportunity to grow tremendously. So I'm really excited about it, and so are they. And then as we move on to other programs, I'm just gonna throw this in there for a second too. I know we're looking about math, but we're also looking at a science program as well that's called Amplify Science. That's based on the NGSS standards, next generation science standards. And it's a really, again, it's a hands-on lab activity-based, digital-based program. And I am all about getting kids to experiment with their hands. The theory stuff is all well and good, I know, but we got to learn conceptually first through getting your hands dirty, whether it's in math or science or language arts. You have to be doing something. That's my technical term, getting your hands dirty, right? But we got to be doing something. We got to be able to play first and then learn concepts that way and then break that down into the abstract. That's just the way I've been taught to teach, and our teachers know that I'm expecting them to do more hands-on activities to build that conceptual knowledge. So with that in mind, we'll lead into a science program as well that we're looking at, and hopefully we can pay for that with some of the funds that we're getting. We're still in that talks, right? Yeah. So, but as far as the math program goes, our teachers are excited. I think it's going to really help benefit our students, and it's gonna just keep correlating with each other as they move on from 6th grade to 12th grade. So that's our envisions piece. And I'm sorry I had a couple of textbooks to bring with you, but just for you to look at. Forgot them. My bad.
I can ask a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a quick question. I think you touched on it anyways, Mark. There is continuity for these programs from elementary school up, so that when they get up from elementary school into middle school, they're not just blindsided by all this stuff. There's continuity there.
No, they shouldn't be. And remember, all the programs we have are based on the Common Core standards, right? And so our teachers are using those standards to help teach. And then when we look at Engage New York, all of that, which is the math program down here, right? So when we look at that, that's all aligned. And so that is also based on a conceptual piece, and then moving on forward into that abstract. So it should not be. No, they align nicely. That's why we went with it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I think that's great. I mean, and we're going to be, you said you were also looking into the science program.
Yes.
And
Yep.
I know that when we were looking at the numbers, the testing scores, the middle school and the lack of a sort of a continuous program in the middle school was something that was brought up as a potential issue. So it's good to see that being addressed.
Yeah, and I think it's best that we put things in our teachers' hands that allows us to put things in kids' hands as well. Because right now, I think we're looking at teachers who, a lot of them feel like if they're not building their own, then they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But we can purchase and get the training on curriculum that allows us to free us up so we can do more teaching rather than creating. And that's what we want to do. Spend our time that way.
Thank you, Mark. there's nothing else, I guess we can move on to correspondence. Judy?
Yeah, correspondence, I just had the NCES letter is in your packet, and that's No Country Educational Services, it's an agency that we contract with. And we do receive a lot of services and support through that agency. And every month they send out a newsletter and let you know what's going on and all the different activities that our students have the ability to be able to access. And some of our students do. We send this out to all the teachers and the staff, so they get an idea of what's out there, and then I have the students look at that. You also have New Hampshire School Boards Association, just gave your upcoming webinars, if anyone would like to do them. You can certainly do them online.
I just did the policy one before we changed.
So they really do have some good short ones, that you could watch, and some intense ones, that are about an hour long, but not any longer than that. They're pretty, we can handle them. They're not bad.
I actually enjoyed the policy one. It was good.
Yeah, it's very interesting. That's it for correspondence for me.
Thank you. I did receive correspondence for the school board. It was a thank you note from Christy Morris for the work that the board did during the budget process. So if anyone would like to see that, I can take a look. I'll leave it here.
Christy Morris.
And that's it for correspondence that I've got. Deb, business administrators report.
Just have the manifest for this week, and I'll be touching on a few of the agenda items later.
And Dr. McGann, superintendent's report.
Yes, next week, I'm just reflecting on the memo. Some of the things we already talked about so far, but next week, May 19th, the board will be having a meeting at 6 o'clock, a goal setting meeting. And then right after that, we will also be having, no, I'm sorry, right before that, at 5 o'clock, we're going to have another policy meeting, so that the policy committee can get through some of the policies that need to be followed through with prior to the student parent handbook going out. And that has to go out at the end of June or mid-June. And we want to have all the policies done, so if we can get those, and we'll have those, that will allow us 2 meetings to get those policies ready for your next school board meeting for first reading. So that would be good.
What's the deadline for going to print?
With that,
What's the deadline for going to print on the handbook?
it's going in mid-June, and then I believe we get it back in August.
So we need to have the policies finalized by mid-June
For them to go in the handbook.
for them to go. Yeah. Okay. Is that enough time?
I'm sorry.
Is that enough time? Are we gonna be able to?
That we'll be able to do it.
Okay.
Positive thing.
All right.
We'll get there.
Okay, so that takes care of that. And then rest I can follow through with as we go through the agenda.
Okay. Can I just ask one question about the goal setting meeting? I think we sort of kicked that can down the road last year, and I noticed that the most recent one we have is from the 2018, 2019 school year. But we were sort of waiting until the strategic plan was finalized before we, and I think, Matt was the chair at the time, and his sort of thought process on that was that these goals that are generated every year don't seem to change much. They're pretty standardized and they're not terribly specific. But if we had, the something to work off of, like the long-term strategic plan, that we'd be able to generate something a little bit more meaningful and with maybe some benchmarks as well. So does it make sense to do that, or do we need to have something at this point?
It does make sense to do that. As a matter of fact, I have talked with the person who will be representing, talking with the committee, the strategic plan committee.
Mhm.
And his guesstimate as to his goal would be to have the strategic plan completed by the end of August.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, I mean,
So can we push that to the fall, maybe?
you could, that would be fine, because you typically, we
I-
wait until, August, to do your goals, so
Yes.
that we have it for the fall, so.
And I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that. I just feel like that, that we could actually make them a little bit more meaningful if we had the strategic plan in place. So,
Absolutely.
Tammy, do you have any thoughts on that, or you?
No, I think that makes sense. Absolutely makes sense.
I think we maybe put that off until, although you still need to have that meeting on the, with. for the
Yeah,
policy
we can
committee
do
though,
the
right?
policy meeting online. We can
Okay.
do it remotely.
Perfect. That was it. Thanks. Anyone have any questions for Judy? Next up, Mark, principal's report.
Thanks for having me. Once again, just, thank you to our staff members and our custodial staff, everybody who's working out at the buildings to try to make the school a little better this year. So that's wonderful. First, I'll just start out with some dates. I know I gave some of these to you, but the senior class trip is this weekend. They're going to be leaving Friday. Yalta is having a drive-in movie night on May 21st from 8 o'clock to 10:30. They'll be inviting the public as well, kindergarten through grades 12. I think the idea is anybody grade 6 or below needs to have a parent with them. It could be grade 5 and below. When we look at a prom for May 22nd, we have opened that up to 9th graders. Initially, because of numbers and stuff, we weren't going to do that, but we decided to go ahead and open that up to 9th graders. June 1st is the final day for seniors in terms of having all their classwork in, so we can run audits to make sure that everybody's passing and all the credits are earned. June 4th is our sports awards. There's more information to come to that. We haven't quite decided the venue or what it's going to actually look like. We just narrowed down a date. So that's June 4th at 6 p.m. June 10th will be our academic awards that we typically do. It's going to look a little different, but we're still going to do academic awards this year. That's typically held in the morning. And then obviously graduation is the 11th. We talked about that many times. And right now that's still outdoors. We do want to make a change that if for some reason the weather is bad, we will do it indoors that day rather than wait to see if weather clears for the next day. So 8th grade graduation, 8th grade continuation is June 14th. And our students in the middle school have started our SAS testing. I just want to say I'm really proud of the effort that I've seen so far. Obviously, we don't have scores, but the effort that I've seen put into kids who are wanting to do the test and to persevere through it. They know it's difficult. We know it's difficult, but you know what? I'm proud of the way they're acting right now. We had a CTE came and visited the middle or the high school students last week, and those were the directors from Littleton and White Mountains Regional, and trying to garner some attention to get back into the CTE programs for several kids. And we do have a group of kids that want to go take a personal visit this school year to go see what some of those programs look like. So we're excited about that. And then you were talking about the strategic plan. We don't have dates set for that, but we were looking to recruit people. If anybody's interested in wanting to be on that plan, we just contact myself or Judy.
Is there a plan to, I guess, announce that like maybe on the school's social
Oh, we've
media?
been doing, yeah, we've been doing,
We've gotten some.
we have about
Okay.
6 community members.
Oh, great, that's good. I'm
So
watching it.
that's good. I've been out there for a while.
And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mark.
Can I just add that the last day of school for students is June 15th. And the last day for teachers is June 18th. That's all.
I'll say that, I don't know if you mentioned it, but the kindergarten registration has been going on, and we did that with our 5-year-old this morning, and it was very smooth and easy, so appreciate that.
Nice.
Committee reports. I know we got minutes from the facilities committee, and it seemed like there was a lot there, but I don't think.
And that was reviewed at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Brian had gone over that.
Yeah,
Okay,
we went over it.
all right. And then,
So we
policy
have-
committee?
We have the
Met
tech committee. The tech committee met the other day, and we discussed a myriad of things. We talked about the summer training, if need be, and what would be available to staff. We talked about programs that will be implemented, integrated into the system this year, and also talked about how we would support the staff and teachers and with the technology that we do have, and moving forward, what that's going to look like. That was good.
Giving them a lot more resources.
Yeah, right, that Joe was up.
Great.
I left the general though.
Yeah, I did say that's all I'm adding.
And policy committee met tonight.
Yes, policy committee met, we went through a lot of policies, and again, we're gonna set up another meeting before the next board meeting to go through another package of policies that need to be involved, integrated into the student parent handbook.
Mhm.
So we'll be able to do that, and by the next meeting, they'll have quite a few policies to review. Very good.
Staff nominations, recommendations, resignations.
Yes, I have recommendations. I did give you all a list of the support staff.
Tammy, did you get that?
Yes, I did.
And the support staff is the same support staff we have currently. There have been no changes. I'm recommending the same staff the next school year.
And do you need a board action to approve these?
I need you need to vote on it.
Okay, so I'll take a,
Are we going into non-public to discuss any of these?
I didn't know if there were any questions or.
I definitely have a question on two separate ones, so I would like to go into non-public to discuss
Okay.
those at the end of the meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
so I guess we'll do that after the rest of the continuing business.
Thank you.
Okay.
So next thing is roofing bids then.
Oh, I did have a resignation, sorry.
Oh,
Jessica Gluis was your special ed teacher, and she will not be coming back next year, so I just wanted to notify the board. She did not sign a contract, so she will. Just wanted to notify the board that she will not be coming back.
and we don't need to accept that resignation.
You don't have to do anything.
Okay. Okay, so then I guess we'll go,
Too bad, but
I know,
and my understanding is that that position has been advertised already. and,
yes, that's been posted.
Roofing bids, is that you, Mark?
The bids are in your packet from two agencies or companies.
We had a walkthrough on the roof, and the two people that showed up was Melanson and Skyline. Both of them have done work for us in the past and done wonderful work. Melanson came in at the best price, like they had the last two bids. And I recommend Melanson. They're very easy to work with and do a wonderful job.
Can I just, it says that on Melanson 138.5
Right.
plus 3,800.
Well, yes.
Okay.
What that is there's a section up by the boys' bathroom. They're supposed to separate the bits, and Skyline was also supposed to do that, but they didn't. They put it all together.
Yeah.
And basically what it is a section that's kind of soft and the insulation saturated, so we have to remove that insulation and replace it.
Okay. And that, so they're about, a little bit, like $6,000 apart or something like that.
Yeah.
no, that's that whole section that will complete the roof.
Everything will be done.
And you're comfortable with, that this is an apples to apples
Yes,
comparison here.
Yes.
Because there's just not a lot of detail in the Skyline roofing bid. There's
yeah.
a little bit more.
They both received the same instructions, what I wanted to see.
Yeah, Skyline's never really
Yeah.
put much into their proposal.
And like I said, Melanson's probably done about at least 80% of our work on that building. They've done a wonderful job.
So, yeah. We're gonna go by your recommendation, so at least I will.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
make a motion that we accept the bid from Ellenson Company in the amount of, hang on, I gotta flip my page. 138.5 plus the 3,800.
I'll second.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Joe. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor, say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Aye.
And that
Thank you.
carries. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Food service contracts?
Yep, so every year we have to renew our service contract. We put it out to bid every 5 years. Technically, it's a 1-year contract with 4 annual renewals. And we do it that way, so we don't have to put it out to bid every year. But it has to go by the New Hampshire Department of Ed. It has to be approved by the New Hampshire Department of Ed every year, our renewal. Part of the renewal is looking at our prices for the following year. And we have to do this paid lunch equity spreadsheet that looks at our pricing over the year and compares it to like the federal reimbursement rates. This year, however, everyone was free. We got a waiver for everyone to eat for free. So that paid lunch equity doesn't really work here. So we are recommending, and we talked to the state that we're not going to have any price increases for next year for our hot lunch prices. And that's what the contract renewal budget will be based on for the following year. This year, we have had a big increase in our participation with everyone eating free. And so even with all because we get federal reimbursements and all of that. So we're actually doing better than what we had budgeted because our participation's up so high. And that's overridden, just the loss in like our sales. But again, we're getting those federal reimbursements back from the state, from the federal government. So anyway, so we're recommending no price increase, and that's what we're going to send to the state for our renewal for next year.
And do you need any action from us on that?
We just need you to approve the renewal for the new year with no price increase.
Okay, I'll accept the motion to approve the renewal with no price increase.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Tammy, second?
Yep, second.
Thank you,
And
Tammy.
there's a few documents that we need the chair to sign.
Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, that's motion carries. And senior trip chaperones.
Seniors trip chaperones are Denise Drapo, Chad Morris, Amy Goris, and Blair Whedon.
Good
I just
group.
have to mention to the board so that the board knows who they are.
And we don't need any action on that.
No.
Thank you. There's nothing on the new business. We do have the continuing business, town of Lincoln and Denise Harradine easements.
Yes, I've just been in contact with the district's attorney, the school district's attorney this week, and he is seeking out a document. And so the town's attorney and the school district's attorney are now communicating back and forth, and they're figuring out what document that is so that we can move forward with it.
Okay.
So everything's still moving forward, but
Okay.
now we have those two talking.
So at some point, we're going to need to vote on that as a board.
Yes.
Okay, but we'll have to wait until all that.
Yeah, he just wants to make sure everything is in place so that there's no mistakes made.
That would be nice. Next thing is superintendent evaluation, and I guess I'll address that. I've received one from somebody. But we do need to get that in, and I could encourage the others that have not to please get that to me. You can drop it in an envelope and leave it at the district office, or you can get it, text me and I can come pick it up at your house if we need to. But basically, I don't know if there's a deadline on that necessarily, but it is something that we're supposed to do. So thank you.
If anyone needs a copy, we can send out another, just email Sharon and she'll send you out another copy. Anybody needs one.
Thank you. COVID-19.
We do have a reopening planning meeting we are scheduling for May 24th at 2:45. And we will be reviewing that plan one more time before it will be submitted to the state. It needs to be submitted to the state by June 23rd. So we're just gonna review it one more time and then we'll send it in. Also, at the next board meeting, or maybe the first board meeting in June, we do have to have public input on that plan,
Mhm.
just like we did at the original plan. Remember that we were in the gymnasium? So we have to do that again. So we'll probably do that at the beginning of one of those meetings,
Okay.
whether it be the next meeting or the first one in June.
We had some, I mean, it was all new and last year and no
Right.
one really had any idea what to expect. So we did have full separate sessions, a couple of them, I believe,
Right, right.
on just that issue. Do we feel like we don't need to do that this
I
year?
don't
'Cause
think
people
so.
will go, okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I
Okay.
think we'll just put it on as an agenda item and, we'll make sure that the agenda is out there so
Yeah.
that we'll let people know that that's one of the agenda items.
Great.
Strategic plan, again, that is going to be, we're going to start setting up some meetings between now and August. And Mark Dolan said that he feels as though we can get this done by the end of May, by the end of August, sorry. Should be all set with that.
And we have advisory budget committee on the continuing business agenda.
I'm just keeping that on the agenda for when the board is ready to discuss it.
Okay. I think it probably makes sense to wait until we have more people here to do that. I feel like that's gonna be a hot button issue.
Could you explain what the advisory budget committee is?
It's nothing currently, but
Nothing, so
yeah.
what would it be? Because there was a budget committee, but now there's not one. Could you just?
yeah. So the voters at the last school district meeting voted to no longer have a budget committee.
Yes.
It was a fairly close vote in the community.
Yes, it was.
It was only by about 7 votes. And so the issue has been raised as to whether or not to establish sort of a budget committee that doesn't necessarily have as much authority as the traditional voted budget committee would, but would still be available to do an in-depth review of the budget and make suggestions to the board.
But that's what the other board did, it made suggestions that you
No,
did not take.
no,
so there's
No,
really-
that's not accurate. The
Okay.
other budget committee,
But you
actually
didn't
has-
take their advice when they told you that you should make some cuts.
that's,
Is that
well,
correct?
the community didn't,
The community did.
correct. So
You also did, but that's okay.
So the advisory budget committee or the regular budget committee does have statutory authority to set the budget that goes to the voters.
Yes, I see.
So the advisory budget committee would not have that authority. So that's
So
the
you
primary
basically
difference.
do whatever you want,
As far as what?
as far as anything.
I mean, we have the statute of,
You have nobody over you telling you what to do. You can do whatever you want to do.
yeah, that's the taxpayers. That's the taxpayers and voters.
With the 7
We're
people margin.
we're
So
all,
you just got rid of that because you didn't like what they said. You canceled them, but now we're going to create a new one. Who's going to bring in this advisory budget? How will they be voted on by the public?
no, that's the whole point, right? That's the whole point. And the majority of the budget committee wasn't voted on by the public either. So that, the issue is something that's under consideration. I'm not sure where the remainder of the budget or the board stands on the advisory budget committee. It's an agenda item because we are discussing the possibility of establishing one to add some additional community voices to the budget process.
People that you choose.
Not me personally, but people that the board chooses, yes.
Yeah, so it'll be everybody that thinks like you guys.
Because the
Yeah,
others
and
were selected by the board and asked to come in as members to give their expertise to participate in and evaluate kind of from an outside standpoint to give their experience. A couple of them were very experienced and looked at the budget and they offered information that was, was definitely, they took some heat for these things, but it was important information that you needed to hear.
yeah, and
So
I
I think it's good to have diversity
Sure.
of opinion, just as we
Sure.
can have,
And in the overwhelming majority of the community,
Is really important.
the overwhelming majority of the community rejected the budget committee's proposals outright.
I can't
And
really
then-
hear you because you have a mask on.
Yeah, that's because that's what we were supposed to be doing in the school building.
Well, I
So,
can't wear one. I can't safely wear a mask. I'm exempt.
the overwhelming majority of the community rejected the budget committee's proposals. We're considering, or there's some folks on the board that want the board to consider the advisory committee. We'll have a discussion about that when that topic comes up. Tonight,
Okay.
we are holding off on discussing the advisory committee because there's not enough members of the board here, or I feel like that's a
Yeah, where are all the
discussion.
members of the board? Should they be here? Is there because they're getting paid. I believe we voted on that as well, for them to get paid to be here, and I only see one person on the screen. So is there like they have to show up, or no?
No.
No.
At will,
Nope. It's an elected position. They could not show up the entire year.
but still get paid?
Sure,
So that's a good question.
sure.
Should you get paid for that?
And I'm not sure whether the remainder of, some of them are coaches, some of them have other obligations.
Well, I know
So,
one of them who's a coach did not have practice today, so he would be available as the president. But that's fine. Thank you for answering that question. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
I think that's it for continuing business. I don't see any students here. Is there staff?
No, there is.
Oh.
Oh, students. I said staff.
I don't have anything to report.
Okay, thank you. And community input. Anybody from the community that would like to discuss any of the issues on the agenda?
So is this a time to mention, so you said that. the
Sorry,
upcoming-
ma'am. This is a recording device,
Okay,
and I don't know if it picks you up from back there, so if you could just sort of
okay.
probably move up in the area
Well, I
of
just
this,
had-
of this chair or this
Sure,
desk is, yep.
And tell us who you are.
Yeah, and then if you could just have,
Okay,
state your name.
Amy Barnaby. I have a son that graduated last year. I just enrolled my daughter after staying out for the entire year. I saw that the mask mandate was down, that Sununu had taken the mask mandate off. I'm concerned about her wearing a mask in school because I believe it's harmful. It's not neutral. It's not, let's just continue to do this. The CDC has come out with a study in March 2020, and that study said that if you're not in a healthcare industry or a healthcare facility, wearing a mask does nothing to reduce the spread of COVID. So my concern is right now with continuing to wear the mask. I understand that the Education Commissioner, Edelblatt, there's a question about Title 10, 126. Is a mask mandate for students in conflict with this? He and the AG said, no, they didn't think it was, but I believe that that's going to be challenged in the Supreme Court. So if we do that, then we'll really know, because your AG can say what they think, but what really happens? And are we experimenting on our children? Are we putting them in here and we're putting these masks on their face and we're saying to them, you can't see the expression of a teacher to be able to read the full way someone communicates, because we talk with our hands, we talk with our expressions, and especially the younger children are being denied the ability to read those expressions, to have the full humanity of them be recognized. So I am concerned with that. And as we look ahead to next year, I would hope that we would consider that, that you would consider that in the mask wearing. I know, I think I received a message from Superintendent McGann that said her recommendation would be less mask wearing. It's hard when you're in a small area and you have to go outside. So the New England Journal of Science, May 21, 2020, there's no scientific evidence that healthy people wearing masks reduces the transmission. We're at a 99%, near 100% recovery for children. Right now, we only have 71 people that are hospitalized. Our recovery rate in New Hampshire is 99+% recovery. So I guess when you're in business, you do a cost benefit analysis. I don't think children should be placed in that scale. So that's all I'll come to the meeting when it comes time for that, because I do want my children to come next year fully involved in the school and not have to wear a mask and be denied their full humanity. And I do hope that that meeting isn't just an agenda item, that all the parents can come and not just have a small agenda meeting, that it can be a full group, that parents can give their feedback on how the year went with remote learning, with wearing the mask, with how they felt, how their students, what the feedback is, because this is something new in the past year that would be great to get their input. Maybe it's been awesome for some families, and we would like to know what they did that worked so well for them and how they stayed on top of it. So I think that was all. I just wanted to mention that, and I appreciate you taking our questions on the advisory board, both Danielle and I, our husbands were on the board and we were there. We heard the way that people were upset about some of the things they said, but I think you need to have, in a small town, especially when there's a board, that maybe all share a similar mindset. It's good, you know, I saw my daughter's folder she brought home today with growth mindset. And I thought, you know, having someone challenge and open your mind up a little bit to a different way, even if you say no, even if they say, oh, you gotta, you know, make a cut here, it's okay to say no, but thank you for your input. That's great. We're gonna go another way. It's okay. So I appreciate that. So I just thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
You said the New England Journal of Science. Do you remember what the
Yes,
year-
that
what's
is
the date?
May 21, 2020. May 21, 2020, the New England Journal of Science. And that was, I believe that's the one that the CDC said there's no scientific evidence that health to be, I mean, we also know that Fauci, the WHO, in the beginning of the pandemic, they said no need, and that's why it wasn't until summer that New Hampshire and other states started to put these mask mandates out. So the original, my brother-in-law is an epidemiologist with the CDC, and the whole framework of public health was nothing like what we're doing right now. It was herd immunity. It was very different from what we ended up doing. So, you know, I understand also that there were changes in that, but I still don't think any scientific studies have proven that masks work.
Okay.
And the children all wear them. The last thing, if we taught our children how to wash their hands properly and how to eat healthy and how to get fit, those things would be far more valuable to them than putting a mask on. And so that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Paul?
Just to chime in.
Sorry, Paul. Do you mind just
Oh,
looking at the
yeah,
recording?
just-
Thank you.
I just had a quick.
Yep, that's fine.
Comment. But, yeah, basically I was online, I was looking at some of the statistics for, like Carroll County has, is in the 70+ percentile. I think they're 72, 73% vaccinated. Coors County's in the, you know, upper 60s. We're right behind them. So I was just wondering what the criteria was. I mean, we've reached quote unquote herd immunity, you know, certainly in Carroll, and we're, you know, a couple of weeks at most being there ourselves in these other counties. So I just wonder what the criteria was for us to take off our masks. You know, not just the school, but, you know, just for us here in this committee too.
Yeah, we will be talking about that at the next meeting.
All right. I mean, it'd be great if we could spend at least one day at the end of the year without masks, you know. It'd be kind of
I
fun.
think the end of the reopening committee, this is all part of.
The
what they're gonna be
24th.
working on.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Paul. Is that it? Okay. Then I'll pull the board to go into non-public to discuss matters that are likely to adversely affect the reputation of a person other than a member of the school board under RSA 91A:3. Tammy,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
I'll say yes. And
Yep.
yeah, thank you.
We're gonna figure out the technology.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Stop. Cool.
Okay, so the board's going into non-public session, so we have.
No, they're way out in the parking lot. I told
Very
them,
good.
that I confirmed with them that we're
Okay, then
I
I
will-
would.
I'll make a motion to accept the recommendations by the administration for the support staff nominations for the school year of 2021 and 2022.
And those are the ones that as listed by okay.
Yes, sir.
I was gonna let Ashley second it.
All right, second by Joe. All those in favor, say aye.
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 And that carries. Thank you. And then I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Tammy.
Second.
Thank you, Joe. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, we are adjourned.